Discover the worlds you want to live in. Isekai, world building at its most enthusiastic.
Hello and welcome, strangers. I'm your host, Bitsy the Alien, galactic overlord of the Stranger Realms multiverse and the planet Eoterra. Without further ado, let's welcome this week's guest aboard the Mothership. Hello.
Hey, hi.
Go ahead and introduce yourself and tell everybody where they can find you.
Hi, I'm Marlon Teunissen, also known as Dream Chaser Art online. Yeah, I'm the creator of a comic series called Heartland Stories, and I do a lot of other artsy stuff on the side. And you can find me on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter as Dream Chaser Art, and I have my own website, dreamchaserart.com.
Nice. And I think we have all of those links in the description. So if you need a quick little want to go over there and follow her before we get started, please do so.
Yeah, that's correct.
So let's jump into the first question. I ask everybody this. So, what is your relationship with anime and manga?
It's we have a close relationship. So my art style is obviously manga based. I really like it, although I have to say I prefer old school anime and manga stuff over the more modern stuff. And yeah, I've been a fan of many years. So.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Do you have any experience with the isekai genre?
A little bit. Like I did watch some series back in the days when isekai was more about a girl who would be transported to a fantasy world. Nowadays, it's usually a guy who dies and then gets transported into a video game or something. So that has changed. But yeah, in that regard, like Visions of Escaflowne. Do you know that?
Oh, I've heard of that one. I don't know if I watched it all.
It's one of my favorite series. And Magic Knight Rayer.
I've heard of that one.
No, it's by Clamp.
What was that?
Clamp, you know the group Clamp. They did Chobits. Cardcaptor Sakura.
I didn't know they did anything other than Chobits.
No, they did a lot of things. They did some series. So yeah. Yeah, it's usually 90s shows that I'm familiar with isekai.
Okay, I'm gonna have to watch some of those. I've not heard of a lot of them.
Yeah, you should definitely check them out.
That's awesome. I really like the fantasy world aspect of the other worlds and stuff, and that's kind of what I like to talk about here on the podcast is world building. So why don't we jump into learning a bit about your world? Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have any key locations, continents, kind of overarching? Let's start big and we'll get smaller.
Okay. Well, first off, the world doesn't necessarily have a name, but it is not set obviously in our real world, but it is based on like there's a European continent, but it isn't really Europe. And there's a continent that's African, but it's not African, but it's inspired by our cultures. But I threw in some steampunk and fantasy in it as well. So I have a few key locations, but it's still very small because I only have like 2 comics out. One location is from my first comic called Robo City, and it's a place where robots who want to retire go live. So humans are not allowed, and it's a place where it's just robots and they can be themselves. But unfortunately, robots are just robots and they don't realize they actually can't really function without humans either because eventually they break down. But yeah, it's kind of a messy place.
That's so fun. And your new one that is on Kickstarter right now is
Right.
Undercity. Is that correct?
Yeah, yeah. And that one is set in a smaller mining town called Goldstone. And most of the story takes place in a mountain. Inside that mountain is another special place that was lost in time.
So that'll be part of the journey of the comic
Yeah,
when people
correct.
get it.
Yeah.
Nice. Do you have any plans to expand this world? Maybe name it and name the continents and do a little bit.
Oh yeah, definitely. I would like to. I have a lot of ideas in mind, and I already thought about other locations and continents. Except, you know, making comics is hard work, and I don't know how far I will get, because you know time is a thing.
Yeah,
But,
and you're one person writing and drawing.
And coloring and everything. So yeah, plus a lot of different projects on the side. So, but yeah,
I understand that.
but I do want to expand it, definitely. Yeah.
One thing that we did, because I mean, I used to do all of my art all by myself, and it was horrible. It would take 2 years to do anything, and it takes forever. But my husband and I did a Kickstarter specifically for a visitor's guide on the planet. So it's not a comic, it's just like written with a couple of key images. It's a pretty big 100-page guide, and that was a great way for us to tell people about the planet itself as a character without having to devote 2 years of comic book art.
Yeah. I kind of thought about doing a little write-up for myself, also writing out stories instead of drawing everything, but I'm really bad at writing. Like, I don't like to write. If I write something, I will give up halfway. I immediately have to start drawing a comic, otherwise I won't finish it. Yeah, because usually, you know, the smart way to draw a comic is to write everything out first and then start drawing it. But I never write anything down. I just put it in my head and then I draw immediately.
Yeah, I used to do that for my webcomic, and we remade it. So, and we were like, we're gonna actually script it this time.
Yeah,
it's been going a lot better. But I found that I write in screenplay format, so maybe you just haven't found your writing style yet, because novels is not okay.
No. It's really strange. I don't really go that much into detail. Like, I'm not going to be like, oh, I'm going to write a giant novel or anything. But it's like, I don't know. I just don't like letters a lot. I think it's very boring. And I'm kind of an impatient person when it comes to creating stuff. I want to create as much as possible, and I love creating. And
would you say you're pretty fast at storyboarding and like the drawing aspect?
People around me tell me I'm pretty fast at drawing, but when it comes to storyboarding or anything, I don't think I'm very fast. Like, I'm not sure what's the norm. And how long does a page take you, for example?
If I work really hard, start to finish, maybe I'll get one done in a week. Maybe.
I'm kind of the same, except a page from start to finish for me with coloring and text takes about 8 to 9 hours for me. But I can't work continually in one day. I would have to spread it out, and then it would take me a week, because like I said before, I'm a little bit impatient. I can't spend an entire day on just one thing.
Yeah.
So I work on 3 different things. Then I do my comic, then I do an illustration, then a commission, then I work on my web shop, you know.
Yeah. I usually like do like half the day I'll do this, and then after lunch I'll
Yeah,
do something else.
Yeah.
It's pretty easy. But
Yeah.
yeah, I would say it takes like closer to 20 hours for me to do a
Yes.
page. I'm really slow.
Like just
I
no
haven't
dra-
storyboarded in years. I hate it. I'm so bad at it. My husband will kind of do like stick figures storyboards, and then I'll go in and I'll have to sketch it out, which I still don't like. We've recently hired someone to handle all
wow.
that, so
That's
I'll
great.
just have to ink. I'm like, thank you.
But I mean,
But,
you're in Japan, right?
yeah.
Must be quite easy to find someone who can do that. Is it a Japanese person or?
I can't speak Japanese very well. Like I got the basics down, but when it comes to a meaningful conversation, I have a really hard time remembering how to like express myself.
Yeah, I have the same thing. I also study Japanese, but I've got a lot.
It's hard, and there's like 3 different writing styles. I don't know how people keep up. And we live in the middle of nowhere, so it's not like there's anybody around to talk
That's
to.
kind of hard, yeah.
But I actually found a girl in the Philippines who one of my friends was doing something with them on Facebook, and I was like, wow, I really like your sketches. They're so dynamic. And I'm like, mine suck. You want to draw my book for me? And she's like, I love your book. Wow, there we go.
That's great.
Perfect. It only took 10 years.
Well, yeah, better late than never. I would like to, for part 2, try to hire a colorist, like who does the flat coloring for me, because that really sucks. I think that's one of the worst parts.
Yeah, it takes forever, and especially if you have really complex line art and you have to go in and like.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it takes so much time. Also, it will save me time, and once I can do the shadows and lights, it's quite fun to do. But the basics, no.
I think that'd be a pretty simple person to find. I would.
I think I could. Yeah,
someone around like $30 to $70 a page. That'd be super reasonable.
Yeah, I really have to look into it because it would be my very first time. So,
if you need a contract, I can send you my template.
Oh, that would be awesome. Please do.
Definitely. But I was thinking if your storyboards are quick and you wanted to flesh out your worlds, if you'd ever be interested in reaching out and having other artists draw your stories. You said you don't like writing, but I figure if you provide a storyboard to an artist, that's better than a script.
Yeah. Except, I like to keep everything in my own control. Yeah. I think I would prefer to draw everything by myself. I'm more an artist than a writer, so yeah.
So with your planet, do you have a project coming up that you can talk about without like spoiling anything?
Part 2 of my comic that's currently on Kickstarter. I do often fantasize about it, like what can I do here and what can I do there, and how does this work and how does that work. But I just I don't have any projects relating to that world yet, except the comics.
Okay, and you kind of just take it one step at a time, then not getting too far ahead.
Yeah.
Okay,
exactly.
it's probably a good way to do it. You kind of brain focus on this project.
Yeah. I do sometimes think about, what would be the next story I would want to write, or what character would I want to use, or what teams.
Yeah, go ahead and could you let us get a little bit of insight into your creative process when you're building a brand new story?
Well, Heartland Stories is a series of comics that all have separate stories with different characters, but it takes place in the same world. So sometimes, like my current Kickstarter comic has a little cameo of one of the characters from my previous comic, so they do intersect sometimes.
That's fun.
Yeah, but I have so many ideas for other stories and characters, but I also, even though the stories are separate, I do try to connect the characters to each other in a way. So, how should I say it? There is a bigger overarching story, but because I don't know how much time I have, and I know myself, I'm slow, I decided to make separate stories that together might reveal the overarching story eventually. But by creating the comics with their own stories, readers don't have to worry about, like, for example, if something would happen to me and I can't write a comic anymore, they don't have to worry about not being able to finish the story. If that makes sense.
It's kind of sad. It's like,
yeah, I know.
Planning for inevitability.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I do have sort of an ending in mind, or how this main overarching story goes, but it's quite globally. It's not quite extremely detailed. And it has changed over time, because eventually I changed characters, or characters I thought about first, I kill them off. So things do change in the overarching story, but I'm mainly focused on the smaller stories for now.
What how many books do you think you're going to have to tell your overarching story?
I have no idea, really. Quite a nice amount, yeah.
Like 20, 50,
I really don't
100.
know. The thing is, I have a lot of ideas for the smaller stories, like at least 5 other stories I have in my mind, maybe even more. And once those are out of my way, then I'm get the main story. Like, I can tell more about the main story, and that would take me, I don't know, just a few books, not 100 or.
Okay. So you've got
That's a bit hard to explain.
5 stories right now, and I'm assuming they'll all have multiple volumes. And then
Actually, for the other city, I happen to have 2 volumes planned. The Kickstarter is now for part 1, and I want to do a part 2, because at first, Robo City, the first comic, was just 1 volume, and the story was concluded. And I wanted to do the same with the second one, but as I was working on the story, I just couldn't get it done well in just 1 book. So that's why I split it up. But I do hope each story won't be more than just 1 or maybe 2 books. I don't want to make them too long.
That's pretty manageable. So you've got about 10 in front of you before you can get to your overarching.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay. That's totally manageable. You got this.
I hope so.
How long are your books? I didn't check the Kickstarter for your page count.
Robot City was 72 pages,
Okay.
and The Honor City Part 1 is 94 pages.
Wow.
And I'm guessing that Part 2 will have about the same number.
Okay. So they're pretty significant books, not floppy comics.
No. Exactly.
How long does it take to do one?
Too long.
Yeah.
Robo City went quite okay. It went quite smoothly. It took me about 2 years, and sometimes I had a month of a break in between. So all in all, maybe 1.5 years. But the Honor City is taking me a bit longer than that because, life happens. So, there are things. Plus, I also have a web shop. I need to pay the bills. This comic, creating a comic, I don't get paid for it. So, in the meantime, I like to create merchandise, illustrations, commissions.
I don't think I got a chance to look at your web shop. I'll have to check that out.
Yeah, sure.
I forgot what I was going to say. 2
my
years.
website, yeah.
I was just 2 years for about 90 pages is, I think, standard. Like, I don't know anybody who can do that many pages faster. So I don't think you're slow.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
It took me actually a bit longer than just 2 years, but like I said, sometimes I just had to take a break of a few months, and like nobody is reading this comic as I worked on it, and sometimes I was like, what am I doing? I don't know if it's good or anything, and sometimes that can take a toll on your
Mental
mind as well. So I had to sometimes take a break and do something else.
I definitely understand that.
Yeah.
10 years of not getting paid to draw and not having really anybody tell you that it's good or not.
Yeah,
like,
exactly. But at least you have your husband, right? At least you have your husband.
Yes, he has always been in my corner. Thank goodness. Yeah. I totally would have quit by now.
Yeah, my partner has read it too, and some friends and family members. But for the longest time, as I was working on it, they had no clue what I was doing. So, yeah.
It's nerve-wracking. And then you send out, especially like you send out your Kickstarter books, and sometimes crickets. You don't hear anything from anybody, and you're like, did you get it? Did you like it?
Actually, we have a saying here like, no news is good news. So I don't really mind it that much if I don't hear anything.
I stress about that. I'm like, I'll email people and be like, so it arrived, yes? And they'll be like, yeah, I got it. I'm like, did you read it? They'll be like, yeah, I loved it.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm too nervous to ask if they would like it. I'd be like, oh no. I'm too afraid of the answer, to be honest.
I'm like, they can't dislike it any more than I dislike it. So
yeah, that's true. But eventually, when you work on a project that long, you start to kind of be like, this isn't good enough. This is crap. And I have that too with my comic. But those who have read it are like, no, it's even better than the first one. And no, we love it. So, and that keeps me motivated. Yeah.
I'm actually really interested in what you are doing on your web shop. I would love to share the screen and show everybody. Do I have that link? So tell me about why you started it and kind of like what you do.
I've been doing this for a really, really long time. But slowly grew into more and more. I started out with some prints and stickers at first, and nowadays I'm having some coloring books, keychains, sticker sheets, pins, washi tape. Uh, I have a lot of stuff, and I want to make more because I absolutely love producing and creating stuff.
They're so cute.
I started out with fan art mainly, like most artists do, but I'm slowly moving more towards original stuff as well. And
Are these little mushroom guys your original characters?
yeah. I have a whole line of mushis. Yeah, I'm really happy to say they're doing quite well. And I'm very happy when people buy original stuff. Over there in the corner, you can see from my first comic. That one, yeah. Some stickers. But I haven't really created a lot of merch of my own comic works yet. So
it's harder to sell original.
Yeah.
Like the I see some people doing merchandise launches on Kickstarter, and I've just been like, that is such a great idea.
But didn't you do that as well?
I did what did I do last time? I know the word, it's right. Animations. I did animation.
But I checked your Kickstarter and I noticed you also wanted to do keychains and other stuff, merchandise.
So this was my very first time getting any merch made, and it's so cool.
Yeah, it's sparkly.
it's I got a rainbow gloss on it.
Wow.
So it's like
I've been thinking of doing something like that as well with the rainbow, but I haven't figured out yet what. But yeah, the best feeling about creating merch is when you get the box and you can unbox it. Right? It's like getting a present for yourself.
Yes. A lot of the other merchandise I have shipping directly to my distributor, so I don't get to see it. And I've already been planned, like I'm gonna be like, hey, I need you to pick out one of everything and send it to me because I need these.
Yeah, of course. You should.
If I don't get that plushie, I'm gonna die.
Yeah, you worked hard on it.
So
also,
that, yeah.
Books. Yeah, it's
go for it.
Oh, sorry. Like with books, you work years on it, and then finally you get to hold it in your hand. It's great.
I love the space theme.
Yeah.
It's so cute.
You have if you see, do you see collections in the menu at categories? Yeah.
Yeah.
Those are my collections. So I have those are my OC original stuff.
Where's that? Is it
like, for example, I have Kiki, the Cosmic Girl. She's also an OC. And I have my Space Team stuff there.
I love her.
Thanks. I would like to do maybe a little comic of her as well someday.
Ooh. If you do a comic of her and you kickstart it, can I draw a print for it?
Yeah. It would be my honor.
I love alien girls.
It's funny because at first she started out as a human girl with normal regular skin and blue hair, and she was just fan of space. But now I was like, let's turn her into a proper alien girl and change her skin color and give her how do you say? Yeah, that's one of the old see, she has normal skin.
And no antennae.
Yeah, exactly.
Still very cute though.
Mhm. I also have a backstory thought out about her. So,
Then you definitely gotta tell her story.
okay.
I don't. This is my alien.
Oh, cute. It's blue too, blue purple. It will be perfect.
Ah, that's great. We're gonna have to do some collabs and some alien stuff now.
Yeah, sure, definitely.
Um, so back to your Kickstarter.
Yeah.
Um, what are some of the most exciting things coming up in your project that you're excited to draw or something? I mean, I don't want you to spoil your book, but if there's anything you can talk about for
like just the Kickstarter that I'm having now for the
yeah, we'll start there.
it's already fully drawn. So
Oh,
one of the
nice.
things I had to draw during the Kickstarter that I hadn't drawn yet because I had no clue it would go that fast was I made a special limited edition print that will get gold foil. I set it on a certain stretch goal, and I was like, oh, it will take days or maybe weeks before we reach it. But suddenly I was like, in a few days, I was like, oh no, we're almost there, and I haven't drawn a single line on paper yet for that. But I worked really hard at it, and within a week I had it fully finished. I was like, oh, I'm very happy how it turned out.
That's is it up for the public to see or is that Kickstarter only?
Yeah, I showed it in one of the updates on my Kickstarter, and the update is public, so everyone can see it.
Awesome.
I'm not sure if you can.
I can take a look. I'm not very good at the technical stuff. Which one is it? Is it the first one or is it the latest one?
No, it's, let me see. I think the one that says over 200%. Oh no, yeah, that one shows the sketch. Wait, that's not it.
How long did it take you to fund? Was it like pretty fast?
Yeah, it was actually pretty fast, like one day.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. It's the one that says magnet unlocked that shows the illustration.
Wow. Let's see if I can share this. Buttons. Where am I? Here we go. This would be easier if I had a mouse.
Oh.
Haha. This one.
Yeah, and it's going to be the one with the dark background.
All of the gold is going to be like actual gold.
Yeah, yeah.
That's going to be awesome.
Yeah, I'm looking very much forward to that.
I like your art so much. It's so pretty.
Thank you.
Who's the cool guy with the blue hair?
He is one of the main characters, obviously. One of 4 main characters. And, well, he is neither good or bad, actually. He's a sort of robot, obviously, because, you know, he has a hole in his stomach. He can't survive otherwise. And with him, his name is Inion. And with him, I took on the challenge that I would not really give him any emotions. And that sounds pretty boring. But to be honest, every story with robots or cyborgs that I read, it's always about them getting emotions. But I think the interesting part about machinery and robots is they don't have emotions. That sets them apart from humans. And it was kind of tricky to write him that way, but like he is one of the four characters. Out of those four, I think he's the most challenging, but also most fun to write because I really have to think like no emotions, and yet his actions depend on really on the situation, and that can either make him bad or good. He will either help you or go against you, depending on if it interferes with his main purpose that he was created for. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes total sense. That's really great that you've kind of like seen the tropes that other people do with robots and went against that.
Yeah, exactly. Because I've even seen anime where they are talking, they have these humanoid robots, and then there was one anime, I think it was called Armitage or something, and I liked it, but eventually it was about robots that were getting killed off, and people were getting angry because those robots were just like humans, and some could even get pregnant, and I'm like, wait, what's the use of them being robots then? That doesn't make sense.
Yeah, that sounds like anime.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, yeah. I haven't ever tried to do anything with robots personally. I feel like that's kind of, you really have to make a decision there, like if they're going to be true robots or anime robots.
Well, I had the same thing with the first comic that was even more robot oriented, Robo City. And I made them more funnier. But I also had to think like, these are not human beings. The way they think is different from us. They think more logical, more abstract. But sometimes it will also make them more, make them look more like idiots as well. Like the robots in Robo City aren't always that smart.
That's hilarious. Is there a tier on your Kickstarter where somebody can back and get both books?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Fantastic.
I have 2 tiers for that, and it's also available as an add-on, so people can also be like, oh, I back you as a support for just €1 or dollar, and I'll just take as an add-on the Robo City book. That's also possible. But it's also available in my web shop. So
Sweet. So definitely, I mean, we've got some people watching. You guys need to go click those links, buy some stuff.
Are there a lot of people watching?
Hi guys. The oh, I forgot.
Oh.
I'm so bad at this hosting. I'm a space cadet. Do you know that phrase?
Yeah. I know. It's no problem. You're doing great.
Thank you. I have let's see. I have like prompts for when I forget what to say. So I'll just read one of those. Here's a good one. Do you ever wish you could leave Earth and live in your world?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. It's like it's not a perfect world, but it's far more entertaining and more exciting than Earth.
Do you think that you would be in the main plot, interacting with the main characters, or just live in your everyday life?
Knowing with my luck, I would probably be just a background character.
That's better than getting killed off.
Yeah, background characters can get killed off as well. So,
You can't if you're never on screen. Run.
True.
If I was in my world, I would just never be on the panels because I never go outside.
Maybe you would see me somewhere way in the back in a crowd of people, but other than that, yeah.
Like doing something.
Mhm.
I'd be like in a window in a building, just like.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not really brave enough to do what my characters are doing or have to do because, they mostly they don't ask for it either. So it just happens to them.
Greatness thrust upon them, kind of
Yeah.
rise to the challenge. Those are great. I love those kind of stories, though. Like
Yeah.
being human and like living in this world, it's like we need something to give us hope and hang on to.
Exactly. Yeah. Although there are a lot of aspects from this real world that are also in my world, like my comic book world.
Mm.
So, yeah, like real life situations or problems. So it's not, like I said, it's not perfect, but it's more fun.
I think that's great, though. I mean, that's one of the things. Like growing up, a lot of the cartoons were very tongue in cheek. They weren't realistic, and you could tell.
No.
But I think like what you're doing, telling these stories that are uplifting and powerful, but still real. I think that's very important, and it's gonna.
Well, sometimes reality is you need to look for it in my comics a little bit, but there's a sliver, yeah, it's in there.
It's like the people and stuff. Like
Yeah, exactly. But it's true what you said about cartoons, especially in the past. Like, I think you two grew up on American cartoons mostly.
Yeah.
When you were a kid, and they always had to have this message, safety message at the end, or it was always the same. And then when I became a teenager, I discovered anime, and I was like, wait, there's suddenly so much more possible within those kind of cartoons, and they're way more realistic and cooler. So that's when I fell in love with them.
I had a very same experience.
Yes. Especially with like female characters. Most Western cartoons in the past, they were like a group of boys and then always one token girl.
Yeah.
And she never really had much to do, and she had a certain look on her. But when I saw advertisements for anime, and the girls looked so cool and sexy, and they had all these crazy colors of hair, and they could do everything. They could kick ass. They were the main characters, and you could have as many girls in a show as you wanted, even if it was an action show or whatever. And I was like, whoa, that's amazing.
I mean, that's one of the best things about like anime, and it's like breaking down those barriers.
Yeah.
What was the anime that you first saw, like that your first encounter?
Well, to be honest, I later found out that I was already watching anime that I didn't know were anime. So,
like Pokemon.
no, that wasn't my first. I'm not sure if you're familiar with. It's a bit hard to. We had some European comics that were turned into like cartoons, but were basically anime because they were drawn at Japanese studios. So those were my first anime, but I'm not sure if you're familiar with those titles. Let me see. I don't think it has an English title, but Domo. It's like a big white fat dog.
Big white fat dog.
Mm, like if you write down in Google Domo and an anime, then you find it right away.
Domo?
In English, it's called Wowzer.
It's not the bear. Wowzer?
He looks like a bear, but it's actually a dog.
Oh, is it brown?
No, it's white.
Oh, then it's definitely not what I'm looking at.
Okay. No. And the movements is something maybe you're more familiar with them.
Oh, okay. I think I found it. That's like classic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've
So
never seen that before.
like so those were my first ones, like Samurai Pizza Cats and stuff like that. But you probably are like, what the hell are those? They're old stuff.
Yeah, I grew up watching Pokemon and Disney.
Yeah, that was Pokemon was a little later, but I think the very first anime that I saw that I felt like was, wow, no, I'm actually watching really anime was like, I did see Akira,
Oh, that's a good one.
obviously, yeah, when I was younger. And yeah, Pokemon was also around that time when I first saw it on TV. Like in my country, they always showed very little anime compared to other countries.
Mm.
So it was sometimes frustrating when I would see all these magazines with cool anime art and pictures, and I was like, I want to see them, but I couldn't.
That's yeah, that must suck. We
Yeah.
in America we have had when I was a kid. I'm sure it's different now, but we had one TV channel that would play anime at like midnight.
Toonami?
Adult Swim.
Oh yeah, Adult Swim, and I believe that part was called Toonami, maybe.
Maybe I don't remember. I didn't have TV growing up, but I remember going to a friend's house. I still don't have TV.
Well, you
But
must missing much.
I got like streaming Netflix. But
Yeah, I don't have TV now either, cable, but we stream everything.
Yeah. It's well, I was gonna say it's better because you don't have ads, but that's changing. So
yeah, unfortunately. But at least now we can choose what we want to see instead of cable who decide what we want to see.
Yeah, it's like the same thing with like people starting these podcasts instead of radio. It's like I've always hated radio.
Yeah, me too.
Like, why are you playing this song for the 5th time today?
Yeah, or why are you talking so much?
Yes.
Yeah. Sometimes I was checking the radio and all I could hear was just talking. I was like, where's the music?
Mm-hmm. We have this is totally off topic, but I work at a bakery part-time downtown. Well,
nice.
We have a road with a truck stop on it, and I work at the bakery near there. And they play our local Miyazaki Prefecture radio, and it's hilarious because I don't know where they found this white guy, but there's definitely like they've got like a caster who's definitely an American dude because he's like Joy FM, and they're talking in Japanese, and
with an American accent maybe.
Maybe, but that would be an impressive American accent. And especially because when he says stuff in Japanese, it still sounds American.
Yeah, exactly.
He's like no Tani. Like what? But yeah, they chat like over the music. The music will be playing and they'll be talking. And I'm like, why are you guys talking about your lunch right now? Do you know the mic is on?
Yeah.
Because they'll be like tasting things and they're like, oh my.
That's interesting because when I've been to Japan a few times, and whenever I was in a shop and they would play music, it was usually MIDI sounds without any voice. Like they never had the rights for it, but they wanted music anyway.
Like piano of like hip hop
exactly.
songs.
Yeah. But it sounds with your shop, they do play actual sorry, music.
The radio does in the back, but we're not licensed to.
Okay.
So the place where the customers are at can't have radio.
Okay.
So I think that's the like legal thing. It's like it's weird, but in the shop where the customers come, we play Frozen piano on repeat.
Oh God, so, horrible.
It's like it was cute the first time, but now every time I walk into like the other half of the bakery, it's like
I imagine working at an amusement park at a certain attraction. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Oh, I was telling you about Adult Swim.
Yeah.
So it only happened for like 3 or 4 hours at like midnight. And I went over to a friend's house and they had Bleach on, you know? Like
yeah, I know.
So that was like the very first time I'd ever seen real anime. And I was like, what is that?
Yeah.
And it took like 3 months. No. Yeah. It took like 3 months to actually figure out what it was. And then it took 2 years to figure out the name of the show.
Oh, wow.
Because I saw it and someone told me, oh, hey, it's anime. You can watch anime on this like, you know, streaming website like Crunchyroll or something. This is like, this was like 20 years ago.
Yeah, I believe Crunchyroll is now gone. Yeah, I'm not sure. They merged with another company now. So I think Crunchyroll still exists, but isn't quite the same as it used to anymore.
Yeah, they're owned by like, I don't think it's like Universal, but some big company bought them.
Yeah, Warner Brothers, I think.
That might be it, actually.
Yeah. But back in the day, it was quite fun to actually have to hunt stuff down. And nowadays, it's a little bit too easy. I feel like something is a little bit lost. Yeah. So maybe that's why I like to watch old anime, because sometimes you really have to hunt, even online, old anime that never would be are online anywhere. So.
It's kind of like a mystical journey. Like
yeah, exactly.
Or like scrolling through YouTube and trying to find like episode 5, part 5.
Exactly. But I usually like to check YouTube channels that talk about really obscure anime, and via them I discover new or old series that I've never heard of before, and where to find them or not, because sometimes they really don't exist.
You'll have to tell me some of those names. I want to ask the people at my bakery if they've ever heard of them. They're pretty big into anime there. It's pretty great.
Really? Okay. Right. Oh, well.
The owner, he's like, imagine the perfect happy Japanese baker man. That's the owner of the bakery I work at.
Yeah, really?
He's plump and happy, and he's always stealing bites of cake. It's fantastic.
Like a melon pan. It's like a melon pan.
And,
I miss those.
The melon pan with like ice cream in Osaka. We never got to have it, but we saw it.
Wow.
The one of our friends was telling us that Osaka specifically like has street corner vendors where they do hot fresh melon pan with ice cream in it. So we haven't had it yet, but
no,
that's on the list.
Yeah, if I get to Japan someday, then I will definitely go look for it.
Hopefully this fall will be open again.
Yeah, I hope so too. I've been actually waiting for 2 years, because I was already starting to plan our trip, and I had already bought flight tickets, and then COVID hit.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It's been a rough couple years.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Mhm. They closed the borders too. I mean, there's not like border patrol. They're not checking, but
No.
technically we're not supposed to leave. So it's
Yeah.
like you're stuck in the middle of nowhere, just like, are we in
Yeah.
Japan or?
Yeah, exactly. I can imagine. It must have been really frustrating.
Yeah, my poor husband has been having a very difficult time with that. It's like, I want to
Yeah.
travel.
Yeah, I hope it definitely will be available to you very soon.
Yes, yes, they're starting to open up for Japan travel, and hopefully soon it'll be international travel because we haven't had
Yeah.
any family come visit.
No, no. Oh, it must be so lonely.
It really has been.
Oh,
But I mean, I guess it's like lonely in Japan or lonely in America. Yeah.
it doesn't matter. And at least the technology is here now, so I assume with Skype or anything, you can still
Yeah.
contact your family and see them.
I've been incredibly surprised how good our Wi-Fi has been here.
Yeah.
Like, we get bad like summer storms, doesn't knock it
Mhm.
out. It's just
Wow.
fast. I'm like, man, it's the best Wi-Fi I've ever had.
Yeah, that's great.
I feel like we got way off topic from your
Yeah.
Kickstarter. Do you have anything you want to tell the people?
I don't know if you still have a question about my comic and the world specifically.
I have a couple of my funny questions.
Sure. Go ahead.
They're kind of silly. I like to ask, like, is there anything that you have in your like either overarching story or like your world that you don't like? Like, is there something that you just hate it? Like, why do I have to do this? Like specifically like story.
No, not really. The only thing I hate when I draw my comic is I don't like drawing buildings, and for some reason I end up creating stories where I have to draw a lot of buildings. I mean, both of the comics have a city in them, so I can't avoid it. But
That's one of the things I noticed first about your art was all the buildings. I was like, wow, you've got so many cool like cityscapes.
and I absolutely hate it. Like when I draw characters, I find it very fun to design them and to draw them. But with buildings, I'm like, I don't know what to draw. I'm out of ideas. I'm not an architect. I don't know. It's a bit hard for me to imagine anything new with a building, but I try my best. And apparently, I'm not doing too shabby.
Yeah, not too shabby at all.
Yeah. So I do find it important to have nice backgrounds in comics because some comics are so bare that I'm like, it's a bit too empty.
Especially with webcomics, I've noticed.
Yeah, and they tend to copy paste a lot, and I kind of can understand because they're under a lot of time constraints. But it also takes away from the atmosphere and the quality of the art as well.
Yeah, backgrounds. That's a whole struggle.
Yeah, indeed.
That's the first thing that I stopped doing. I make my husband do those.
Oh, it's nice.
He learned 3D art specifically to do my backgrounds because I'm like,
oh wow,
I'm gonna go insane.
That's great. Except sometimes I'm like, why didn't I create a story set in a forest or something? Because I do enjoy drawing plants and nature, but you know, I hate myself, I think. I like to
Well,
torture myself.
at least if you do a comic about your cute space alien girl, that should be easy enough. Stars. No.
It will also be set on Earth. So again, I'm stuck with buildings and that kind of stuff.
Hmm.
There'll be some stars and space things, but yeah.
You're a far superior artist than I am.
Yeah.
So like
I don't
kudos to you.
know.
That's hard stuff.
Yeah, I know.
And you do a great job of keeping it all homogeneous and the theme like all throughout your art. Like it's so pretty.
Yeah, I sometimes worry about it because I do notice that unlike some other artists who are really good at it, I have a trouble with keeping the faces the same sometimes. Yeah, I don't know how to say it. Like
Did
with
I
child characters, I sometimes draw,
squish?
yeah, sometimes with child characters, I draw them correctly so you can see, oh, they're children, and then another panel I kind of forget, and then they look too old. And I'm like, shit. Sorry, I cursed.
I have the opposite problem. I'll make like an adult character who's like a father, and then the next panel they look like the teenagers. And
Yeah, but I think that's typical animating anyway. So,
yeah.
so it's not too bad. I usually end up giving them a beard, then it's always safe.
Well,
And,
I don't want to keep you too much longer, but if you've got anything you want to get out there into the world, go ahead.
well, my Kickstarter, the Understudy Part 1, is still running until this Saturday. So if you're interested in backing it, please check it out over at Kickstarter as Heartland Stories, The Understudy Part 1. And other than that, I don't know. Please visit my social media to see more art on my homepage.
Yes. And buy stuff at your merch shop.
Yeah, yeah. Or at events. I sometimes also attend conventions. I had one last weekend, so I'm still very sleepy from that.
Conventions are exhausting.
Yeah, exactly.
That's awesome. I would love to come to some conventions in Europe one of these days when people are allowed to leave their houses.
Yeah, you should. Yeah, they're nice. They're fun. I can send you some recommendations for the best conventions that are worth checking out.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
International traveling.
Yeah. I would love to attend a convention in the USA someday as well, but I have no clue how I would have to do that.
You can always find like a booth buddy or go to a small convention first. I don't know.
Yeah.
Comic-Cons in the US are so much work. I'm assuming they're
I know.
work there too, probably. But yeah. Well,
Yeah, it was really fun. My first podcast. I hope I did a good job of it.
yeah, and I hope I wasn't too spacey.
No problem. Sometimes my mind blanks out as well. So.
I am definitely glad you came on. I mean, it's always nerve-wracking to be like, there's this random person that I want to ask, and they're cool, and I don't know what to do. So thank you for responding.
Thank you for inviting me.
I'd love to have you back on if you do another Kickstarter.
Yeah, of course. There's still part 2 that has to come in the future. So.
Then we can discuss your book. I'll have to read through it and then ask you questions about it.
Or maybe you can have me back on once you've read part 1 and then ask me questions based on that book.
Yeah.
That's an idea.
I'm really glad that we got to meet because we seem like kindred spirits, and
Yeah.
I'd love to keep in contact and
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, do some stuff, maybe collaborate in the future.
Yeah, that would be fun.
I'll say the little outro thingy, I guess. It's
Goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye. What is it I'm supposed to say? I have it written down.
Oh,
I got it.
okay.
Thank you so much for coming aboard. Also, thank you to everyone who stopped by and watched. A huge shout out to the Stranger Army for all of your monetary support. It is greatly appreciated. Stay strange out there. Jazz hands.
Bye-bye.